Did you know that working at a Massage Envy franchise location comes with perks you'll love? You'll have access to professional skin and body care products from brands you know and trust, like Marini Skin Solutions and PCA Skin, as well as free continuing education and training opportunities. And of course, an annual ASCP membership with insurance at no cost to you. Learn more about location-specific benefits when you search for open esthetician positions near you at massageenvy.com/estcareers and apply today.
Meet Comfort Zone, the Italian, science-led skincare brand trusted by estheticians and featured in over 7,000 spas worldwide. Founded by pharmacist Dr. Davide Bollati, Comfort Zone is powered by over 60 in-house chemists and skincare experts dedicated to skin longevity. Our clinically tested formulas blend advanced botanical and biotechnology research to deliver real results and elevate every treatment experience. Discover more at us.comfortzoneskin.com or follow at comfortzoneskin_official on Instagram.
Hello and welcome to ASCP Esty Talk. I'm Ella Cressman, licensed esthetician, forever student of the skin, and content contributor for Associated Skincare Professionals.
I'm Maggie Staszcuk, licensed esthetician and ASCP's program director.
Hey Maggie, have you ever heard the term brand-boozled?
This is a new one to me, Ella.
Yeah, so basically when you're brand-boozled is different than brand loyalty.
Okay.
Brand loyalty is when you align with a brand, and that is your first go-to choice for everything. Very common in our industry, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely.
I did it early on. In fact, my very first line that I bought, I picked that line because the shop that I worked in, I rented a space, but they carried the retail of it. And I was a loyal. I only went to their classes. I did the facials that were built around their products. I bought everything. And I was in it. I was brand loyal until something else came along. That something else came along, I bought into it, into the philosophy. My emotions and my professional ethics aligned, and I was in it. That is brand loyalty. I think a lot of people, especially our listeners, can relate to that. Being brand-boozled is when that loyalty changes to where you realize something switched up on me. It's what's happening when trust replaces verification. It's what happens when marketing replaces transparency. It's what happens when loyalty isn't reciprocated. And I think we can all identify an area where perhaps we've been brand-boozled. Most of us didn't choose to be brand-boozled, but it happens. Can you relate?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yes, it's happened to me a couple times. That second brand I went with, I was behind them. I'll just give an example. I won't say who it was, but I bought into that philosophy. I was selling those products. I was telling all my friends. I was a super fan of this line, and I regurgitated what they told me, which was this is just the example, that chemical SPFs were bad. Physical SPFs were the only way to go. Until one day they switched the formula on me. Have you seen that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, what? I hear you just changing my philosophical compass here. And they had this whole other reason. Come to find out in formulation school, I'm just theorizing. The reason that they switched it up like that is because it's very expensive to suspend a physical sunscreen in a formulation. It's very expensive to have it tested. So a lot of times, they'll just put a chemical in because it's easier. The experience of the product is more pleasurable. That's really what happened. But then they sold me all this other marketing BS that was just playing on my emotions. What do you think about that?
I hear you, Ella. I know exactly what you're talking about. I think this kind of thing happens in the skincare industry a lot. And especially when we're talking about estheticians, sales reps, people that are pushing a brand and having to push that brand philosophy, as soon as that story changes, then, well, the story changes. And And that brand philosophy and everything you've been taught and what's been ingrained has to shift.
And this is also what you've told your clients.
Right.
And you have to wait, what am I going to tell them now? Remember all those things I said before? Something changed. Well, this was the case for sure for somebody that I was watching on social media. She was very brave and she did this series, a series of posts. I caught them when I was doom scrolling on Instagram. And basically she was saying, this is my decision why I'm not going with XYZ brand anymore. I'm not going to say the name of the brand. If you guys know who I'm talking about, then if you know, you know. But if you don't, just listen to the rest of the story. She was explaining that there was these subtle formulation changes that she didn't even notice her clients did. So she bought into this brand because it met her philosophy of clean beauty. So she has other brands, but this was her clean beauty brand she brought in specifically. And she started noticing slight changes. Clients were complaining that, is this a little different? She's like, no, they would have told me because I've been a loyal person selling this brand for a long time. And then finally, somebody brought in and said, look at the back of these ingredients. This has a known hormone disruptor. This was supposed to be a clean brand. And this client was especially sensitive, whether it was emotionally or physically, to said ingredients. And so that's when she noticed something was off. So this is what happens when you're brand-boozled. Oftentimes is there's this slow drift in how they can change, they being the brands, without saying that they've changed. Because formulations rarely change all at once. Commonly, it's called a quiet shift, where ingredient substitutions are made for cost savings, or lower percentages of hero ingredients are entered into the mix, or they change the preservation systems. Reformulations happen to meet mass or direct-to-consumer scalability. We're going to talk about direct-to-consumer in a little bit, but brands may technically disclose changes. Brands may technically disclose these changes, but not educationally. So at what point, Maggie, does transparency become technically compliant, but ethically thin?
Oh, that is such a loaded question, Ella. I don't know.
Good one.
I feel like every time. I mean, and with this story that you're sharing, again, one that I can definitely relate to. And I think that even when there's this quiet shift, it's the responsibility of the brand, in my opinion, to notify all of their brand loyal clients who are the account holders to say this shift has occurred because it impacts them and then impacts their clients.
And I feel like as professionals, we're an extension of their company because we're helping market their products, we're helping educate their products, we're helping sell their products. So that absolutely should be the case. But it doesn't happen all the time. I know there was a company I was working with who their formulations would change from batch to batch to batch. I didn't work with them for very long because I'm like, this, you can't. But it wasn't even changing on the inky deck. That's unethical. That's being for sure brand-boozled if you're a loyalist to that. I don't think a lot of people are loyal to that brand. But it happens. And then sometimes there can be slight tweaks. And sometimes those slight tweaks or those slight adjustments, especially if it's visually or scent-wise, are because of natural materials on it. But how often have you been, oh, this is a little bit different, and really compared it to the previous formulation? Nobody does that.
Yeah, no, I can't say that I have really gotten that specific.
Yes, not good. Okay, let's talk about now. We kind of touched on it, but this is another big thing. She was saying that in her video, she thought that these changes were made so that they could start selling direct to consumer. So it had been a professional only line, but now it's positioning for a direct to consumer. Let's be honest. DTC isn't the enemy, but it is a signal. Here's where nuance matters. DTC isn't inherently bad. It's not bad that the brand you choose also sells right to the consumer, but it does change pricing power, professional exclusivity, and the esthetician's role in their brand story. So long time ago, there was this push. I think it was maybe 4 years ago. There was even a petition signed to ban this company because they started out, nope, we're always going to be professional, just professional only, but then ended up shifting. And I think I remember too being early on when like Amazon sales or internet sales were starting, when some professional companies were making that shift, being outraged. You can definitely see this. Oh, another one. They used us to build their brand and now they're going direct to consumer. I felt the same, especially with this new brand that I brought in. They sell direct to consumer, and oftentimes it feels like they're competing with me because what they're offering on their internet sales. So I get it. But if your client can buy the same product at the same price with influencer messaging without your clinical context, has your value shifted whether the brand admits it or not? I don't know. I think it could be, but it also could work in your favor.
Yeah, I do see both sides here, and that's a tricky one. I think that in recent years there has been, the waters are muddy. There's a lot of products that are direct to consumer that you could argue really should be a professional product if you look at the ingredients, and then vice versa. Where these professional lines are now both available direct to consumer and available to the esthetician. And I think that, to your point, it does favor the esthetician, and also it makes it challenging for the esthetician. I think that as long as there are products available for the esthetician, available only in the treatment room, it still elevates the esthetician. I think it's fine at the end of the day.
One company I worked with previously did it right. They 100% did it right. They sold it for 10% more than the esthetician. So it's 10% more than the esthetician MSRP. And they also didn't sell all of their SKUs direct to consumer. So there were still things that had a higher percentage of acids or required more like discernment than just somebody picking it off of the internet. So when those came up as a recommendation, they had like a spa finder or a professional finder on their website. It's like, you can't get it here, but here's a couple places in your area, or go to the spa finder and put in your zip code and find a place. So it was like satiating the demand because it's 2026. It's going to happen, but it did it in a way that was not biting the people that did get them there. So I think there's a way to understand that better, especially the fact that like direct to consumer is not a betrayal. It is a business pivot. So your job as a professional is to pivot with intention and not emotion. Now, I totally understand where this poster was coming from, but also how can you make this then work for you? So with the current line that I have, it sucks. I'm not going to lie. They're like running a sale, had no idea. I'm having my clients text me and say, they're having a sale right now. What should I get? I'm like, okay. So the way that they've amended it is they've provided like an affiliate link for me. Here, click this link, use this, order this. I don't get the same complete markup, but I'm still doing it a little bit smarter. And then in clinic, I'm not carrying all of their SKUs. In fact, I'm not carrying their 4 top sellers. Because you're going to sell it to them. You sell that to them. I'm going to sell the specialty things, and the specialty things that I think that I'm going to pivot in a certain way that is like just for them. Right. So, and I didn't start out that way. I brought in all the SKUs. And then I had a nice little sale on those ones that I'm like, I'm going to just niche down a little bit.
Hold that thought. We'll be right back.
Tizo introduces 2 new photoceutical treatments infused with antioxidants and rich in benefit ingredients designed to restore and rejuvenate skin. Perfecting Face Cream is a nourishing, multitasking rejuvenator in a feather-light, silky cream, ideal for all skin types. Restorative Sleeping Mask hydrates and soothes instantly while supporting the skin barrier and fighting free radical damage. Both are 100% free of dyes, fragrances, oils, and parabens. For a limited time, enjoy our introductory offer for professionals. Buy 3 and get 1 free, mix and match. Available through TizoPro.com. Estes, if you're not yet offering sugaring hair removal services, you're missing out. For clients, sugaring provides lasting results, is more gentle, and leaves the skin looking radiant. For businesses, it's eco-friendly, safe, hypoallergenic, and most importantly, profitable. If I've piqued your interest, check out the official Sodexo-endorsed CPD sugaring program offered by Savvy Certification. Stand out with industry-recognized training, be added to a global registry, and gain the resources you need to start offering this service. Learn more at savvycertification.com. That's savvycertification.com.
Okay, here we go. Let's get back to the podcast.
With that being said, let's talk about when red flags come up. Red flags when your relationship needs reevaluation. I see this a lot too, where people are buying into their education systems because of this certification status that they're given. Like, you're a certified blank, blank, blank. But the blank, blank, blank is they're certified in that brand's specific approach.
Right.
But not in the public eye or what they think. Their shoulders are, their chest is puffed. They're like, oh my gosh, I am a certified blank, blank, blank. But really, you just know how to do that brand's blank, blank. So red flags, our education becomes more sales focused than science focused. Really important, especially if you're paying for it. Next one is brand reps can't clearly explain formulation changes that you might notice, whether they are telling you up front or you're noticing. Messaging prioritizes virality over professional outcomes. Here's my favorite one, and this is one I definitely want to talk to you about, is the brand grows, but the professional support shrinks. We've seen this over and over, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it goes back to your comment about the brand shifting and becoming more direct to consumer.
I've seen that a lot. Or razzle dazzle was another thing I'll put on there. Like, is it really about the esthetician support them? But here's the thing, when you have this brand change or this shift in status, everybody wants to be with said brand, right? Because everybody else is doing it and they're making it look so amazing and so cool. I want to be there. But stop, look, listen, think. Stop. Listen. Pay attention to what they're really giving you. Because if the brand evolves, but your education doesn't, that's not growth. That's just a shift or a drift away. So be very, very aware of those things. So how can estheticians avoid being brand-boozled moving forward? Here's a couple of practical safeguards that you can use. Read the Inky list every time you reorder. Is this something you would do?
No.
I wouldn't either. So take advantage of AI. Scan it. That's what I would do. I would scan it. I wouldn't read it because that's a lot and I'm very busy. Ask brands directly, has this formula changed in the last 12 or 24 months? Who is this formulation optimized for now? Here's the other thing. Diversify your backbar, both emotionally and financially. I don't think it's always, now listen, I'm going to say this to someone who's worked with brands for a long time, and the brands will always say you have to use all of their products to ensure the outcomes that they are touting, marketing to you. But diversifying your backbar is super important. Not staying to just one brand. What do you think about that?
I think that this is part of the bigger idea that every 12 to 24 months, you should be reevaluating your brand for your business. And who are you targeting? What is your philosophy? Does the product brand that you're using still meet that? And looking at your menu as well. That's part of it.
For sure. Or your, you said it right there, the philosophy. Does it equate? Also, what else is out there? There was like 4 heavy hitters back in the day. Now there is so many more. I just brought in another line that is, it's interesting because it was a specialty line. Like, that's how they're marketed. But the more I'm using it, the more I'm specializing in adjusting it for my, my clinical appointments. So it's cool. And I also feel, as a practitioner, re-impassioned by using just a new line in my back bar. So, and that passion then translates to my clients because they get excited. They'll try this new product. Stop building your identity on one brand. That's for your social media. That's for your services. That's for everything. What do you think about that?
I think that's really important. I think that your brand as a business, that identity is not the product brand you're using.
Absolutely. And with that, invest in the education that teaches you critical thinking and clinical reasoning, not just what to sell. I think that's a huge disservice that is foundational at this point. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do, yeah.
They're like, oh, this is how you're going. This was a comment that was made to me one time in a room with some professionals. They said, estheticians don't want to learn how to do it. They want a protocol. I was like, oh my gosh, that is scathing. That's not how I operate. I want a protocol for sure, but I want to know why I'm doing these steps so that I know how to pivot and be able to customize for someone else. And it's not the brand's fault. Like the brands were just that specific brand. It's not a unique thought either. It's like, just do it this way, follow this every single time. It's also how like some larger spas are built because they have to have predictability. And I understand those things, but you need to be able to pivot. What if somebody has an allergy to an ingredient in that one product? You need to understand the why this is happening, what this process is about. So that really it hurt when I heard that. It's like, no, that is so horrible. But it's also foundational. This is how we learned in school. And then nobody really challenged that, right?
I agree with you. I think to your point, there are large spas that operate that way. And you said it, they need to be predictable. You come for that one facial, it's the same every time. And at the same time, there are probably estheticians who operate that way and that works for them. And maybe even, those students coming out of school where initially that works for them as they're getting their bearings and they're learning aesthetics. But as you grow as an esthetician, and hopefully every esthetician is, they are building their knowledge and learning how to step outside of that box to think with more clinical reasoning.
Mm-hmm.
And if there is an allergy or they need to customize a treatment, and also just for themselves, you don't want to have a cookie cutter treatment every facial every day.
Redundant. Yeah, I think that professional loyalty should be earned, not inherited forever too, so that you should be getting something back, not just like, oh, I am, let's just call it ABC Skincare certified. I am an ABC Skincare expert. I am an ABC Skincare. I can't even say it. That's how much it doesn't align with me. Like I'm putting them, here's the thing, when you're putting them on your social media, I use this product, you're doing free advertising for them too. So how do you turn industry shifts into business strength? The industry change creates confusion, and confusion creates leadership opportunity. So here's what you can do. You can reposition yourself as formulation literate, really important, so that you notice those changes. And it happens sometimes too on accident. So being aware and approaching with grace is key. Educate your clients on why you curate, not just what you carry, because that also frees you up. If they love their product that they got from Ulta, you can keep it in their routine because you understand, because you're formulation literate. Move from brand-based facials to skin-based strategies that'll free you up, that also sets you forward for the future. Your authority increases when you choose brands intentionally, when you explain your decisions clearly, when you're willing to let go publicly and professionally. Here's the bottom line. Clients trust practitioners who make informed decisions, even when those decisions change. Would you agree or disagree?
Yeah, I agree.
And that's hard because I have been through several brand changes. Remember I was telling you was that, I'll just say this, they had a tropical facial. You'll know who I'm talking about. They had a tropical facial, so that was definitely on my menu. I live in Colorado. It was like, who needs a tropical facial? I had no idea why. I knew why I was giving the acne facial, but I couldn't understand why the acne facial wasn't working on my acne clients. Okay? But this is supposed to work because this is what they said. So when I went with the second brand, I was like, whoa, it opened up the door. It changed the way I learned until I stopped learning from them, until I stopped and saw they were shifting. They ended up going direct to consumer and being in big on Walmart.com. So stopped using them because all the things that they had promised was different. But now I totally have a completely different approach, and my clients trust me through the changes because I'm explaining to them how it's going to work in their skin instead. Normalizing the breakup is another key thing. Outgrowing a brand doesn't mean you were wrong before. It just means that you learned, that the industry might have shifted, that your standards evolved. This is what you were talking about, Maggie. And then being transparent with those clients to build trust, not doubt. What do you think?
Yeah, I think all those points are spot on. You said it.
So being brand-boozled isn't the failure. Staying silent once you see clearly is. Now, listeners, we want to hear from you. What brand relationship have you outgrown, and what did that teach you about your business? Reach out via Instagram, Facebook, or send us an email at getconnected@ascpskincare.com. We want to know all the details. In the meantime, thank you for listening to ASCP Esty Talk. For more information on this episode, or for ways to connect with Maggie or myself, or to learn more about ASCP, check out the show notes. Stay tuned for the next episode of ASCP Esty Talk.